Recording. Rest.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Let's see. Nicole, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we have quorum.
We're such a good group. We always seem to have a quorum over here. So, all right. Well, welcome everybody. We'll start by doing some introductions here. I think we have a lot of our regular players, but we have some guests too. So let's start by doing some actual introductions. I'm Becky Bachikis. I'm the Director of Student Programs for the County Office of Education and also the chair of the RJOB Data Subcommittee here. And I will pass it to Christopher.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chris James, W. Haywood Burns Institute, which is a national nonprofit based in Oakland, which has the mission to dismantle structural racism in local justice systems throughout the country. And if I'm passing, then I am going to, I think I'm going to pick on Matt Malone because he was one of the first people to respond to my one-on-one invites. So kudos to Matt. No good deed goes unpunished.
Thank you. Thank you. Matt Malone, I am Chief Counsel for the Contra Costa Superior Court. And I will pass, let's see, Dr. Walker. You're on mute.
Bill Walker, Director of Legislative and Governmental Affairs for the Health Department.
Thanks, Dr. Walker. Can you pass it to someone else?
I'll pass it to Melissa.
Thanks. I'm Melissa Clavoon. I'm an assistant sheriff with the Sheriff's Office. I oversee our Administrative Services Bureau. And I will pass to Monique.
Hi, I'm Monique Tate. I am with the Office of Reentry and Justice. I'm a new program coordinator, and I will pass it on to Andrea or Andrea.
Both, either one's fine. I'm Andrea Tavernier. I work for the DA's office and I run the juvenile division, and I will pass to Patrice.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patrice Guillory, Office of Reentry and Justice Director. And I will pass it to Shayla.
Shayla Bonner here, Racial Justice Oversight Body, and also a member of Racial Justice Coalition. And I will pass it to LaShante.
Hi, Lashante Smith, Director of School Climate in West Contra Costa Unified. And I will pass it to Simon. Did you go?
Not yet, Simon.
Hi, everybody. Simon O'Connell. I am Chief Assistant, Contra Costa DA's office. Thanks for hosting, and I'll pass it on over to Melvin.
Good afternoon, Melvin Russell with the Probation Department, and I will pass it to Cheryl.
Hola, Cheryl Sutton. This is the Oversight Body and the Basic Justice Coalition. And I will pass it to Ms. Jill.
Thank you, Ms. Cheryl. This is Jill Ray with the Office of Supervisor Candace Anderson's office. And did Lashante introduce herself yet?
I think everybody's gone except for Nicole.
Okay, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole Popchek, Office of Reentry and Justice. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for being here today. And does anybody have any announcements?
Actually, we do, Office of Reentry and Justice. So for the last a few other subcommittee meetings for our job, we were sharing with folks that the executive order to amend the Brown Act that allowed us to meet virtually was coming to an end at the end of this month. However, there's been some new news. AB 361, which extends some of the stipulations around the executive order, has been signed by the governor and has also extended our ability to meet virtually. However, that said, we are getting some information and asking a few questions just to get clarity around the legislation and what is to be the direction from our county clerk of the board's office. So we are still sort of on pins and needles for right now in terms of what are some of the ongoing procedures that will need to take place during the meetings if we are to continue virtually. So that's just to let you all know that there is the opportunity for us to continue to meet virtually. However, how it impacts the way in which our meetings are to be ran, we're trying to get some clarity on that for now. So we will provide further updates as we get more information.
Thank you, Patrice. Yeah, that looked like I saw in one of the other meetings we had earlier this week, like, wow, that was a big change coming. So good to know that for now we will stick with this format and we'll look for direction from you moving forward. Okay, any other announcements? I see we had somebody just join us. Antoine, could you introduce yourself? We just did introductions.
Yes, I am Antoine Watt. I'm a new organizer with Safe Return Project.
Thanks for being here, Antoine.
You're welcome.
Okay, so if there are no further announcements, we can move to our next agenda item, which is public comment on any item under the jurisdiction of the RJOB Data Subcommittee and not on this agenda. So is there any public comment on anything that's not agendized? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the next item, the approval of the record of action from our last meeting on August 26th, which is attachment 1 in the agenda packet, pages 3 through 5. And if anybody on the panel would like to make a motion to approve it, we could entertain that at this point.
I make motion to approve the record of action for last meeting.
Thank you, Shayla.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. Nicole, could you take a roll call vote?
Sure. Becky?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Patrice?
Yes.
Lashante?
Yes.
Dr. Walker?
Yes.
Shayla.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Nicole. And now we can move to our fourth item, review the posted data and discuss a plan for sharing with the community. And I have my name next to this, and I have to admit that when I tried to find it earlier, I couldn't find it. So I know you know where it is, Patrice, so can I hand it to you and you could?
Well, yeah, Nicole actually shares screen, so right now it's in preview, so it's not live.
Well,
So
that
that's
makes
what
me feel a little
yeah.
better why I couldn't find
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So we wanted to be sure that we get you guys' feedback first and before we go live. So Nicole can share with you guys where it will be placed on the website, and you know how you can draw down the actual PDFs.
Perfect. Take it away, Nicole.
So this is the Racial Justice Oversight Body website as it exists today. And in the left-hand navigation, there are no additional pages. But if we were to launch and publish this page, it's called Data Reporting is the title. Open to suggestions if that is not fitting for this page. But essentially, you would click on this left-hand navigation to get to this page. And I'm going to open up. Assume that I clicked on that, and then this is the page. So this is the data reporting website. And we have an image of Contra Costa County and a brief overview of why this page exists. I'll give you guys some time to read that. And I can paste this into chat as well, so you guys can take that with you. So I pasted the overview in chat, so you can take a look at that. And then as far as reports are concerned, we broke it up with adult versus juvenile. And so you can toggle back and forth. Right now, we're only showing one PDF that you can click on here. But the intent is that you could add to this as we have further reporting periods. So I'll click on the adults right now, and it downloads basically the PDF for you that we are sharing. And I'll just open that up so you can see exactly what that is. And this is data that I believe we've seen before in this subcommittee meeting. We have the misdemeanor, felony data and trends.
Great. So just to refresh everybody's memory that the content of the data that's there has been approved by the larger body. So what we're talking about right now is not what's posted there, but where it's posted and how the page looks. So does anybody have any feedback or thoughts about any of the verbiage or the location of the data?
Great job.
And then there's some reference links below that are referenced in the specific reports. And the intent there would be to add to these reference links as needed if people wanted to dig deeper into where some of this data was pulled from.
Great. So I think that was part of what we wanted to do here is just kind of like look at what that looked like. And I think we decided that we didn't need to make a vote about it because we've already discussed several times that we were going to do this. But I guess I'll just ask, does anybody have any objection to us making this go live? Okay. The second part of the discussion was about how we are going to get the word out about the existence of this data. And so does anybody have any comments or thoughts about that, about how we should, obviously, it kind of leads into the next part about the community listening session, because this is of course the data that was going to be shared at that session. But outside of that, which we'll hear about next, do people have ideas about how we could make the availability of that data known to different groups and individuals? we all know that the website is not the world's most friendly thing.
Yeah, I can just sort of start this conversation off by saying I think links are going to be very important, right? As many links as possible, because what Nicole just laid out was pretty straightforward to me. I feel like, once that's live, I'll be able to navigate to that. But I'm also quite frequently navigating to this site to see the agendas and to download them and all of that, right? So for people who aren't, and I think I've mentioned this before, link in bio on a social media account, or, posting links just as posts on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, as many places as you can put a link so that people can click it, as opposed to, some printed information that tells me it's there and then I have to go try to find that on my own. It's going to be way more accessible.
Yeah, and is there any reason, Nicole, why we could make a direct link, right? You just copy what's in the URL bar and then paste it into wherever you're going to share it, and it will take people there?
Yes, you don't have to go through that web page. You can just take them directly, but it'll live as a sub page from that page.
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought, just personally, is that once it's there, that we have lots of different groups that I work with that I think would be interested, and so just thinking about myself, that like I am giving a standing update to the JJCC data subcommittee, so I could share it with them to agendize in their next meeting. Same thing for the coordinating council that I facilitate with all the 18 school districts, the assistant superintendents of student services. And I can't think off the top of my head, but there are other things that I do, and it just kind of like sharing it with all the different groups. And if we all did that, I think that would go pretty far to get it out there. I see Jill has her hand up.
I was just going to suggest us putting together a little blurb with a link and sending it out to each of the 5 supervisors, because we all have newsletters, that e-news blasts that we send out that have live links. So that's another way to sort of spread it beyond just the population that I think is looking at this stuff all the time. So.
That's a great idea.
I posted in chat, it's live now, so you guys can go and
great
have fun with it.
Maybe, do you think in terms of thank you, Nicole, in terms of a blurb, Jill, do you think that what Nicole shared in the chat could work as that's what's on the page as kind of the introduction?
Yeah, I was going to go look at that because I was having a hard time following on the screen. And then I can reach out to Patrice or Nicole and ask them if I don't feel like that's
okay,
sufficient enough for the population that's not looking at this all the time.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll add that as an action item for next time to make sure that we have the blurb and the link, like a kind of like almost like a press release, right? I guess. Any other thoughts? I know we wanted to make sure that we were getting this in front of people, like as Jill just said, that aren't sitting here thinking about this all the time now. Anybody have any idea, like from the community perspective, outside of the listening session, how we might be able to share this in a way that will get it more widely seen?
I see Cheryl's hand is up. It's kind of.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Thank you so much, Shayla. Cheryl, I'm sorry. It looked like part of the mural. Cheryl, please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think you can see it. It's blending in with my Hispanic Heritage Month mural. But yes, so thank you, Shayla. Much of this data, as you know, which is one of the reasons I'm most interested in this subcommittee, is needed by the community. And the community is going to want to have access to it, but most of the community doesn't trust very easily. And so the people who you want to deliver it, it has to come from trusted sources. So you have to partner with people who the community trusts. So this is called the Racial Justice Oversight Body. which we on the Racial Justice Coalition are the ones who pushed for this. So the most logical partner, one of the most logical partners is going to be those of us with the Racial Justice Coalition. They start there. Start with Safe Return Project, start with RISE. Many of us who are community members on the Racial Justice Oversight Body, you start there. You get us to help deliver this data on our websites, on our meetings, and with our community partners. I would never, I think that, Nicole, I think this is a great description, but this is not the description that we give to the public. One is too many words, too much reading, and it's too high level. So I would take this and boil it down to as simple and concise as possible when you deliver it to the community. And it's gotta say something about it's community driven, right? The reason we are collecting this data is to make it transparent to the community about what is happening, to help drive the process to diminish these gaps in the criminal legal system, something of that nature, because we have to capture the reason. Why are we collecting data, right? That is what the community wants to know. And then what are we going to do with it once we get it? So I think that has to be the overarching introduction to it. And then what we are not doing with the data is the other side of it. We were at an ACLU meeting last night, and that was one of the big things the community wants to know. What are you doing with it, and what are you not doing with my information? So I think that somehow that has to come out on this website about what the county is doing with the information and what the county is not. Because regardless of what we think about it, they view us as part of the county structure. And so that's what I would say. Give us the links, meaning community members who are part of this body, the oversight body, and we work in partnership and we help get the word out because they trust us.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. So the link is live now. Nicole shared it. It's in the chat. And I appreciate what you're saying. I think that we definitely want to make it accessible and get it back to the people who asked for it in the first place and make sure that they know that, like you said, what we're doing and what we're not doing with it. I'm recalling that when we had one of the first meetings that we had back in that basement room in Martinez, there was a community member, I remember, who spoke out and being concerned about the privacy, just given the small numbers of, especially with the youth and everything. And we definitely want to be sensitive to that and make sure that people know that we're sharing this in the spirit of trying to make improvements in the system.
Yes, Miss Rebecca, just one more thing. I know that Shayla and I are here representing the Racial Justice Coalition, but when I mean about reaching out in partnership, I mean formally, this committee should formally ask these organizations, Racial Justice Coalition, Safe Return Project, RISE.
Yeah.
Don't just tell us to take the link and do it. I think that this committee should send out a request in partnership asking for that type of partnership to get the word out about the data and to publish the link or to send out the link.
Yeah.
Instead of like that. That's what I mean by that.
Okay. So would it work for us to draft something up and bring it back to the group next time in regards to what that would look like? A letter to the community organizations, just letting them know that this is live and with proposed wording so that we could get feedback about it?
I think so, but this is your committee, so.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so I will add that to our list of actions for next time. I've gotten smart knowing that we have to build the agenda. I should keep a running ticker here so that I don't have to look back.
Becky, if I can,
please.
I think it would be more advantageous if it was just a simple email to the different organizations, letting them know that this site is now live and that this is in response to the recommendations that the oversight body is to oversee the implementation of. I think if it comes from you as a chair directly to those organizations, I have full faith in your ability to compose, a brief, a line or what have you, just to say, hey, we're excited, this is now live. Please feel free to share with your networks.
Okay, I will do that. And then I will also bring it not for approval, but rather to share with you what it is that I did. So sounds good. Thank you, Cheryl. I see your actual thumbs there. That's good. We've got those our virtual thumbs on our real ones. Thank you. Okay, any public comment about this item? I know we have a couple members of the public. Does anybody want to comment on this or share any ideas about how we might get the word out about the availability of this data? Okay. So we can move to number 5 then, which is to check in about the community listening session. And that's Chris and Shayla. I know that last time we were here, Shayla graciously volunteered to be part of the facilitation of the community listening session. And I'm not sure if you guys have anything to share, but we wanted to agendize it in case there was something to share.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have a lot to share. I'm going to take responsibility for that, right? When we left this meeting last month, I said, yeah, I will get in touch with the CEF and let them know that Shayla has agreed to host on behalf of the data subcommittee and pass that information forward as we, continue to figure out how this should look, when it should happen, much like what you just heard, right? Like what community partners we should be partnering with in terms of having or holding this, also to get the word out, but also to bring authenticity to, the sorts of questions and information and concerns that people have. And I regret to inform you that in the CEF, we got tied up in an earlier agenda item and we never got to that part of the agenda to really discuss that. Note to self, and I mean, it's always a good practice, it's just something you can forget, is if you have some sort of document or something like that that needs to be reviewed by one of these subcommittees, that probably needs to go at the end of the agenda so that you can do the things that might not take as much time, get them out of the way, and then spend the remainder of the time focusing on that sort of thing. And I kind of did the opposite with the agenda for the CEF meeting, so wasn't able to have that conversation, but we'll definitely have it at the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. And I just want to thank you and Shayla again for volunteering to work on this important project. I think it, sometimes things take time, but we appreciate that you guys are doing it and look forward to getting the word out there for that. So we can move to the next item and
Shayla's hand is up before you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I have talked to some community members about this listening session, although I didn't have any dates, but folks are really excited about it. So the sooner, I don't want to rush anything, but the sooner we can get it done and get folks there, I think it'll be beneficial for community members to hear what we've done so far.
Thank you, Shayla. Thanks for getting the word out already. I think, sometimes like I said, it takes time. So it's good to kind of plant the seed and then people will know when they see the actual announcement, right? Oh, that's what we've been hearing about.
Shayla, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Are you getting any preliminary feedback about, say, time of day, time of the week, that sort of thing? I would imagine that this might be, especially if folks are getting excited about it and really wanting to attend, it might be best to do it, sometime in the early evening so that folks have time to, tend to, work duties if that's a factor. But I'm just curious if there's any sense of what might be a good time or day or that sort of strategy.
From what I'm hearing from folks, early evenings, because it's hard to make a 3 o'clock meeting or a 2 o'clock meeting. So early evenings works better for folks that I've talked to so far.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Is there any public comment about item 5 about the community listening session? Okay. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that. So we'll just push that item to the next agenda as well, so we can get another update next time. And I'm really happy that Andrea and Simon are here today, so we can have their input as we work on item number 6, which is the next thing on our agenda, to review and approve the letter to the district attorney formally requesting data. And we've been working on this for quite a while now in terms of shaping what we want that to look like. The draft letter is attachment 3, which is on page 7 of the agenda packet. And just starting off, see if anybody has any feedback from the panel to make sure that, what we've drafted up there matches what we discussed last time. And I want to thank Patrice for and Nicole for putting this together. This is sort of a small point, but Patrice, when I showed this to our county superintendent, she was asking if Marcus and I were officially in the right place there, because if she's other appointed seats, should she be in the ex officio seats? Because I think the county superintendent of schools is one of the ex officio offices.
I was looking at the board order that made the announcement of the seats, and it looked like the Lynn seat was not ex officio. It was kind of, there was like a term to it. Because I was also under the impression that it was considered an ex officio seat.
Okay.
So I think we'll check on it to come and confirm.
Okay, and then I guess it just, where if it's not, then it doesn't make sense for us to be, Marcus and I to be proxies for something that isn't ex officio.
Yeah,
right?
that might be. Okay.
I don't know.
We'll
okay.
Thank you for catching that.
Yeah. Anybody else on the panel have any questions? I mean, I think that the letter was formulated based upon what we approved last time in the minutes in terms of setting it up. Jill, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, Nicole has it right. There's only 4 ex officio members. I'm looking at the first page of your bylaws.
Okay.
And then the Lynn seat is other appointed members, seat number 7. So.
Okay. So maybe we should just be under other appointed seats proxy or something, like another category. I don't know, not to belabor.
Yeah, it was funny because I had to have your name in there, and so
otherwise it wouldn't make any sense, right? I get it.
Right.
I get it for sure.
We can rearrange it though, and instead just have other appointed seats after the ex officio seats, and then just a list of proxies, and then the community.
Oh, there you go.
Well, it just would be a matter of formatting.
All right, just because I asked her and she gave me that feedback, I just wanted to make sure I passed it along.
No, I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other comments about the letter from the panel? Okay, so go ahead.
Oh, from the panel. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I consider you part of the panel. Aren't you?
No, I am. No, I just remember you were asking from the panel. I was getting ready to say now I'd love to hear from Andrea and possibly Simon if this is really clear, but you just mentioned panel. So let me step back and let you do your thing.
Totally perfect. That was where I was going next, Patrice. You're right. So Simon and Andrea, since you guys are here, could you give us some feedback if you have some?
Before you do that, can I just tell you have a typo?
Please.
It's in the the third paragraph. We thank you. Last sentence, it says inequities within in our system.
Within in?
Yeah. I think it's just within.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Andrea and Simon.
Becky, thank you very much. I must apologize for any background noise. I'm usually in the office, but I had a burst pipe in my house today, and I've now got my 3 little ones who have just come in the door from school. So if you hear any squawking or somebody banging on a pipe, my apologies. Thank you very much. On behalf of DA Becton, I had the opportunity to go over the letter, and we're really excited about it. There are some things that, just for everybody's edification on this, that we don't have. We have a case management system, but not necessarily a statistical or data tracking system. And what I mean by that is our system is basically a virtual file, where instead of it being a physical file with documents inside of it, it's now reports from the police department, legal motions, and pleadings, which are all electronically kept. There's some capture of data in there. But for instance, though, detention data, that's not something that the DA's office has. In plea deals, well, I can get that off a physical file or see an individual case. That can't be pulled down specifically to say a data pull. For instance, if the question was on all rape cases, what was the sentence? That can't be pulled on it would have to be done on an individual case-by-case basis. That said, though, the spirit of this in a request for transparency and awareness of bias, racial bias, which exists in the criminal justice system, DA Becton and our office are firmly in support of that. Sort of as a corollary, as I'm sure everybody is aware of from the Racial Justice Coalition, the DA's office is also engaged with the Vera Institute of Justice for analysis of our own internal data and doing some of that hard pull, which we can't necessarily do from our own system. And we expect that to be done at the end of this year with rollout then with community presentations and our own data to examine bias within our own office and prosecutorial practices with regard to charging, enhancements, and the like. And so I'm hoping that we can sort of be in lockstep with being responsive to the letter with our own rollout out of our data.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the panel have any responses or reactions to what Simon just shared? I think I'd just like to contextualize our request because we have been talking about this for a while, and I think that what you said is the spirit of what, obviously, why we want this data. As Cheryl said earlier, it's not just here's data, it's why do we want it. Obviously, we're trying to create, as our group is charged with, a more of a public awareness of where those decision points that might have the largest disparity are, so that that can be obviously brought to your own group's attention to be attended to, right? So in the spirit of continuous improvement and transparency, we do think that from what we were looking at, what we have been looking at is sort of the demographic information from both probation and from the sheriff's department of the contemporaneous arrest log, which does show some point of this. But as we have been looking at that over time, what we realize is that we're missing the granularity to be able to identify where some of those disparities are in regards to, for example, with the same sort of arresting charge, who's detained, not detained. And as, once people go through the different steps, where are those disparities the greatest? So just so that it's clear what our intention is, it is what I think you said that you guys are also internally involved in evaluating and working on. So I'm glad to hear that that's a shared endeavor. And I would, from participating in the Reimagine Youth Justice group that DA Becton has been leading, I definitely have seen that there is a shared desire to examine these things. So I appreciate you guys coming today. And, we understand that it takes time. I also want to say that, I've heard a lot of feedback from different people and feel myself that, there's a pressingness, there's a time sensitive nature to this because, every single day people are engaged in this system. And so understanding that it takes time to work with our systems that we have and improve them and collect data, but also trying to represent what I feel is the spirit of this body, which is to continue to put pressure to get that as quickly as we can so we can address it.
Thanks, Becky. And I'll say I'm in this position for my first month, replacing my dear friend Venus Johnson. But deliverables are important to me, and carrying something across the finish line. And so I take your sentiments wholeheartedly, and I absolutely understand what you have received so far from other agencies within the county, and the need for those touch points, sort of my word there, for where cases go from a detention to a filing decision to then whether or not that case is settled, whether it goes to trial. If it does go to trial, what are the sentencing disparities? So I've got those firmly on my mind as well for you and everybody here.
Great. Any other comment from the public about this item? Okay, I know that just thinking about the last meeting that we had about the Reimagine Youth Justice, I think that was maybe only just last Friday. Feels like it was about a month ago. I know that Andrea presented a lot of good information there, and there was what I felt like was a very healthy back and forth between the public defender's office and the district attorney. And I just personally am grateful to live in a county where we can have a conversation about this in public, and that people are civil with each other to try to get to the next step, because I know in many counties that's not the case in one direction or the other. So I just appreciate everyone's engagement in this process, and I do feel like we're moving along, and I know that there's a passion on your guys' part as well to improve your own system. So appreciate that. One last opportunity for anybody to share anything in response or questions for this item. We'll move on. Okay.
So, well, actually, I have a question here. So if I'm hearing this correctly, that if we were to move forward with sending this letter over formally to the DEA's office, then we can anticipate that we will not be able to get some of this data on a, I guess, do we have it on a recurring basis?
I think we're asking for quarterly, because that's what we're asking for all the partners at this point.
Yes, the quarterly data reports. So is that what we are anticipating?
Hi, Patrice. So your question is, if this letter comes over in whole, which I expect it to be, there's no need for any amendments to it, would you be receiving the data on a quarterly basis? Too soon to say. I outlined a couple of the difficulties that we have in the specific request there, but I want to make sure that my office, and you can hold me accountable to this, that we're responsive to the request and make sure that we do get data out because of the importance which it symbolizes to all members of our community. So my answer is yes, we will try. And that may not get off the ground right away, but I think the spirit of what we want to do is be in cooperation with the transparency on this once we're able to actually have this data. Because as I said from the beginning, we have a case management system, not a data tracking. That doesn't mean that we don't need that, but it's kind of a long pull as far as like what we can get done. In the short term, I think some of this information is going to be more available than others.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'd also just like to point out that we have a recent precedence of this same sort of situation with the Sheriff's Department, where I think they went through a lot of the same struggles for a lot of exactly the same reasons. And I just want to say that, Melissa was able to work with the people on her side to make some adjustments to how they were reporting their contemporaneous arrest log, so that it did give us more of what we were asking for. And so we definitely understand that. And I think that we would appreciate whatever you can provide as you can provide it, if that makes sense. So even if you can't meet the entire request, the next time that we have a quarterly report, if you could provide to us what you can provide, that would be much appreciated. So thank you for your question, Patrice. That was a good piece of clarity there. Okay. Any other comments, questions about this item before we move to item 7? I see in the agenda it says review and approve, but we didn't write that we were taking a vote. We already approved the content of that last time, if I remember correctly. We went through the different things and we voted on it, didn't we? Anybody remember? I remember we worked on it. Oh, I guess we could look at the record of action, couldn't we?
Well,
Yeah,
and
I
the-
remember. Oh.
I was just going to say the item doesn't have to say vote for you to approve that letter.
Thank you, Jill. Appreciate that. For our parliamentarian. So maybe we should just vote then. Nicole, would you mind, or somebody needs to make a motion, sorry. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the letter as submitted?
I actually move that we, oh, sorry. I move that we approve the letter with some of the formatting edits that were suggested earlier.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, Nicole, now could you take a roll call vote, please?
Becky,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Patrice,
Yes.
LaShante,
Yes.
Dr. Walker,
Yes.
and Shayla.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. And I have a question there that Jill has.
I'm sorry, this is off topic, but Simon just threw something down and I just picked it up. Venus Johnson, you replaced Venus Johnson. I didn't hear Venus Johnson left.
Yes. So Venus is now actually Chief Assistant Attorney General for the state of California.
We're good for her. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
A loss for us, a gain for the state.
That's happened within our organization recently too. We understand that situation. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, so let's move on to number 7, which would be to get an update about the police training on adolescent development. Patrice?
Yeah, so this won't be a voting item, just FYI for folks. So we did a little bit of digging internally to identify some potential trainings that would be appealing once we reach out to police chiefs to see if this is something that they would want to pilot. When we checked it internally, there's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind. One is that police chiefs may actually be in favor of trainings that are considered post-certified. So, and I don't know all of the lingo. So Melissa, I see you shaking your head, but in any case, in order to make it very appealing for officers to actually attend the trainings, having credit hours that they need to complete on an annual basis, or at least identifying a training that would be amenable to credit hours being applied is something to look at. So although we weren't able to identify a post-certified training, there was one from Strategies for Youth that actually, let me pull it up really quickly. That's it. There we go. Strategies for Youth that actually covers a lot of the things that we've been talking about in the past, such as adolescent development, and then also implicit bias as well. Sorry, I'm losing it here. And in either case, this is something that I had not yet shared directly with police chiefs just yet. I wanted to be sure that we can identify something that's really a credible training that is actually touching on the points that many of you have spoken about, and then also you know, have more information to actually propose to police chiefs. So that way they are, oh, here it is. Okay. This training is actually endorsed by the International Association of Directors of Law Enforcement, National Certified Training, which is NCL, and Majority County Chiefs, County Sheriffs Association. I am going to send around a link to their annual reports on this specific training. I'll put it in the chat really quickly so you guys can take a look. And so the next step is to really kind of, again, give them sort of a shell of what this training would look like. How many days is it required? Is it something that could very well be adapted virtually, or just giving them a little bit more nuts and bolts? And then from there, gauge interest and whether or not they want to move forward with this. So that's the latest update for now. So still more outreach needs to be done, more conversation will need to be had. And gauging interest from police chiefs.
You know, Patrice, that link went to the annual reports. Is it in a different section maybe on that website?
Yeah, I'll just do the link to the main. To their main page.
Great.
Yeah. And so if you look at their services, under their law enforcement tab, tools for law enforcement, I believe is the, nope, that's not it, sorry.
I clicked through to something that says training and resources for law enforcement. Is that?
Yes. And I believe the link to the annual report actually speaks to some of their outcomes and delivering that specific training.
Is it called Policing the Teen Brain?
I believe it's the 2019 impact report. Yes.
Melissa, do you think you could share a little bit about what Patrice started to talk about in terms of like, you guys do have required like credit hours that every officer has to do?
Yeah, so POST is our statewide training. I'm missing some words, but they do all of our training, including our basic police training, all the way through all of our advanced officer training and so forth. And most of our officers try to attend as much POST certified training as possible. And there's a couple of reasons. It goes into your general general qualifications. And POST keeps a profile on all the trainings that you've gone to. And then from a department standpoint, some of the POST training is reimbursable for departments. So possibly the travel expenses or per diem expenses can sometimes be reimbursable. So departments like sending their folks to POST trainings as well. There are ways that we can get courses certified through POST. I oversee our training division in our department, and so we have a good working relationship with POST. And for example, if it is this policing the teen brain or one of the trainings that they put on, we can help facilitate a connection between Post-it to maybe get a course like this certified or another course certified. And I do think that that would be very, it would help when you reach out to the police departments. And also a lot of officers go to the Post website where it shows upcoming training. So you'll see individuals that will just look for opportunities to go to training, and then they will request to attend those trainings on their own as well. So I definitely think that that would be a good route to go if we could get a post-certified training. And I could certainly get some of our staff in our training division to help see if we could get a course like this certified.
That seems like an important component because if they were to add something like that to their, I mean, I'm not sure if they already have one or not, but if they, you know, if we were to find something that we thought was culturally responsive and appropriate, and we were to get it approved through this channel, then that would make it more attractive and available to LEAs across the state, right? If it became part of the catalog.
Absolutely. And if, I mean, I don't always search the Post website, but I can tell you, I have not seen much training specifically on dealing with adolescents. So I think you would have a lot of interest in this from Post. And I don't know the exact process of getting a course certified, or only that you have to provide them with a course outline, and they review it, and they have certain requirements to certify courses. But one being that the instructors have to be Post certified to instruct, which a lot of instructors are throughout the state. So yeah, I would definitely recommend trying to get it Post certified, because I think that would be a good push to other agencies and the sheriff's office too.
Thank you for that. That it sounds kind of like what we do in the school with the UC A through G approval. Like we have to put courses in there and get them approved in the portal before we can count them towards college admission for students. And anyone can post something up there, and then it gets, I mean, not anyone, but any like local educational agency can post things in there, and then they get approved by something like that. So maybe it is also, if the person who, or the organization that we identify is not Post certified, maybe they could even do something in collaboration with somebody who already is Post certified, right? To get that.
Yes, absolutely.
So in our training department, also is putting a word out to, there's an association of Bay Area training officers to also identify if there's some other trainings that maybe other jurisdictions have used in the past on this, and to get their feedback to see what was what was some of the outcomes of those trainings, and if that's something for us to look at as well. But this last link that I just posted, if you click on it and then go to scroll to where it says learn more PTB principles of training, it's a quick snapshot of the training components of the policing, the team brain training, the training approach, what does it entail in terms of class size, the duration, what sort of materials are there, and the types of speakers that would be a part of this sort of training process. There's just a little bit more detail there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Patrice, for getting the ball rolling on this. And thank you, Melissa, for adding your expertise about how it functions for LEAs. Does anybody have any comments or other thoughts about this item? I think we can keep it on the agenda and check in again when we come back. And Melissa, if you learn anything between now and then, you could share it, and likewise, anybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple things. Number one, just I'm going to remind everybody to, keep your eyes and ears open for, opportunities that may not have been presented today. They may exist. We may be able to get them certified, even if they are a little bit, different than the usual, come from a bit of a different perspective. And I think that can always be important. And number two, I want to remind everyone, while I think this is really good, this is a really good undertaking for this subcommittee to take on, that I think the recommendations that lent themselves toward this particular end had something to do specifically with training people around how to collect and report good data, right? So in addition to everything that we just talked about, just making sure that we're thinking about, you know, getting everyone on the same page at the agency level or even at the county level about, you know, what we're looking for, which could just help with everything that we've discussed for the last few minutes on the last couple of agenda items. So just making sure that we're aware of that and looking out for opportunities that may exist or that we may need to help to promote or develop, right, in terms of making sure that folks have the information for how to go about reporting data accurately, collecting it accurately, asking the right questions, for example, as opposed to making, you know, determinations on site, and you know, various best practices around data, as well as how to approach, how to deal with, hopefully how to build relationships, right, with youth.
Yeah, very important. Thank you for bringing us back to our work plan and the purpose of the training. I'm sure there's lots of good training out there, but we should definitely make sure we're staying in line with what we've been charged with as well.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is certainly not a training in which we're directly endorsing and approaching police chiefs with. However, it is at least an example of what the scope of work would potentially look like in terms of training for the police chief. So that was what was the sort of the request made to me during the last meeting, was to reach out to chiefs. And I can't reach out to them about trainings if I don't have a sense of what a potential training could look like. So just want to clarify that this is not to say that we're going with this particular training, but that we did do some digging internally, certainly open to any and all suggestions about this, the kind of training that we would like to see the police departments provide to their officers.
Thank you. And I know that one of our potential partnering police chiefs is leaving, right?
That's right. So we got word that Chief Brooks, chief of Antioch Police Department, will be moving on to, I believe it's Boise, to be chief of Boise Police Department. And where is Boise?
Idaho.
You know, right? Is Idaho?
Mm-hmm.
Iowa? Idaho, yeah.
Idaho, yeah. Okay. Anything else about this item? Should we, Patrice, does it make sense to continue it to next time then, to make it kind of a standing item that we check in about?
That's fine. I can certainly reach out at this point. I can reach out to the police chiefs that we have talked about and just gauge their interest, and I can share back what their response has been so far.
Okay, and then I think, Melissa, you were going to check in with your training department too, if they knew about anything that would be appropriate, and also about the process of getting things post-certified, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Sounds good. Sorry, I've lost my agenda here. So many things open. So I believe that was the last item that we had. Any public comment about that item? Okay. So the things that I wrote down in terms of next steps and following up for next time is that I think, Patrice, were you and Nicole going to work on a blurb to accompany the link that people could share out? I'm going to write a letter to the CBOs, but were you guys going to work on a public facing one?
Yeah, we can work on just a general blurb and have that. So Jill, I know you mentioned that can be done for Supervisor Anderson's office. I don't want to suggest that you are that you're recommending that you will send the blurb to the other supervisors' offices, right?
I mean, I can, but they don't always like being told by me what they should do in their newsletters. I know they're open to having announcements. Supervisor Burgess has a very deep and broad newsletter, as does our office. So, and Supervisor Joya has expressed interest in, supporting the efforts of whatever you guys are doing as well. So I'm happy to, you just send it to their chiefs of staff.
Okay, but you guys will work on that and then bring it back next time so that we can disseminate that, I guess. Yeah.
So you want the blurb to be reviewed by the body for next time?
Well, I think we decided we didn't have to do that for the letter, right? So I don't know why we'd have to do it for the blurb, but I just want to make sure that
that will make my life easier.
Okay, so I'll just say that you guys are going to do that, but we can review it even if you guys have already sent it, right? So that we can share it also, and then people can share it with you. Okay, yes. So not to approve it, but just to agendize it so we can review what's been sent out. Same thing for the letter that I'm going to send to the stakeholders, and I might need some help getting a list of who all those stakeholders are that should go to. Is there a good way for me to find who that should be addressed to? I got the ones that were mentioned, but I know there's more. The Racial Justice Coalition, RISE, Safe Return, all those different things like that. I mean, I know the people who are represented on the panel, but is there a more comprehensive list somewhere? I can start with that, I suppose. And then when I bring it next time, then if people can think of more places, we can forward it to them at that time, I guess. Okay. And then we're also going to agendize to check in again about the listening session. And then to check in about the training. Anything else that we talked about that I missed? Or anything else that, oh, go ahead.
When did you want to revisit the Racial Justice Act?
Oh, right. So we had, thank you, Nicole, for reminding me. So Emmylou, who was at the last meeting, had asked for us to look at that. And Nicole did do some research to get it together, but we felt our agenda today was pretty big. And so we were thinking to move that to the next time. I think that seems good. We can put it to the next agenda.
For October or for November? Sorry.
I think for October, because we don't actually have that much from the things that I just summarized there. I think that's.
All right.
And I'm actually not going to be here at the next meeting, so we'll need somebody else to facilitate.
Did we want to get a volunteer now?
Sure. Anybody want to volunteer? Should we volunteer Denise since she's not here?
No, I think I think we could. Well, if no one volunteers at this moment, we can follow up with folks offline and see.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry I won't be here, but that is I'm going to be on vacation and I'm not going to be in a place where I can join remotely like I have done before. So. Okay. Well, if that's everything, any final public comment or comment from the panel? Hearing none, we can adjourn the meeting early. We haven't done that for a long time. So we'll adjourn the meeting at 4:07 p.m. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.